So today we are starting with our module number 5. This module number 5 is basically related to the earned value analysis. Now this earned value analysis is applicable for the project monitoring and controlling activity of your projects. So that's why in your syllabus the title given for this particular module is earned value analysis. I have tried to modify this particular title as uh, project monitoring and controlling using this earned value analysis. So some of the points which are given in our syllabus, and we will also go for some points which are not mentioned in syllabus but they are related to this particular project monitoring and controlling. So since we have got the directives from university regarding examination, what I thought is not only to discuss the points which are specifically mentioned in syllabus, but also to discuss some points which are aligned with that particular point, so that if any questions are coming in and around that particular point, then you will be able to answer those questions satisfactorily. So these are some of the points which we are going to consider in this particular module. So planning, monitoring and controlling cycle, engaging with all stakeholders of the project, the concept of team management, communication and project meetings. So that is one part what we have to discuss, which is moreover related to the execution of project, monitoring and controlling of the project and the team management concept. And secondly, what we have to go is we have to discuss about the earned value management techniques for measuring value of the work which is completed, then using certain milestones for measurement, change request, scope creep and project audit. So some of the things which are related to our syllabus and some of the things which are in and around the points which have been mentioned in the syllabus we will be discussing in this particular session. So let us go to the first part, which is planning, monitoring and controlling cycle. So this planning, monitoring and controlling cycle is most important for the basic purpose, that is we are going to plan, monitor and control three different parameters. One is time, second is cost and third is performance. In other words, it will be schedule, budget and specifications of your project. And why we are considering these parameters? Because these are the fundamental objectives of your project. So the schedule, budget and specifications, these are the three important things which need to be planned, which need to be monitored and which need to be controlled. Because many times what we feel or what we realize, whenever we say that a project has failed, the project failure is normally observed in terms of whether the schedule is going beyond the schedule which is prepared, whether the cost of your project is going beyond the budgeted cost, and whether the performance, either in terms of your scope of the project or in terms of the quality of your project, that is getting hampered or that is deviating from the planned or the benchmark what you have decided. So that's why these are the three very important parameters for any particular project, that is schedule, budget and specifications. And if we want that the project should get completed within the schedule, within the budgeted amount and with the proper specifications which have been specified, then we must go for planning these activities. We should monitor them, and if they are deviating from the plan, then we should initiate the controlling actions to bring it on track. The planning phase, which is basically involving budgeting and scheduling, needs a significantly greater investment of time and energy early in the life of the project, but they significantly reduce the extent and cost of poor performance and time or cost overruns. So as you all are students of management studies, you must be knowing one management philosophy, that if you want to do any particular work, if you want to execute any particular work, 80% planning and 20% execution. So that is a philosophy which is iterated, which is stressed by many management gurus, management consultants. So more and more energy should be invested, more and more time should be invested in planning the things properly. Because if your planning is perfect, then execution becomes extremely simple. And if there are problems with your planning, if the planning is not done properly, then there are always issues in execution of that particular activity. So that's why the planning phase, the planning of your project with respect to the preparation of budget and preparation of the schedule, it needs to be given utmost attention, a huge amount of energy and time from many stakeholders. It is not like somebody like only project manager will go for preparation of the budget and schedule. Many stakeholders, they need to be consulted, they need to be taken into account. And most of the project stakeholders, they have got more interactions, especially in the initiation phase of your project, because there more and more support is required when you are deciding the budget and scheduling of your project. That is your planning phase. And if this phase, planning phase, is done thoroughly, is given proper attention, then definitely the chances of the poor performance, time overrun, cost overrun, and the rework, these all will get reduced. There is no guarantee of trouble-free project, merely a decline in the risk of failure. So even though we invest so much energy in planning phase and do a very thorough planning, nobody can guarantee that your project will not have any troubles, it will not have any issues. Because project is a project, every project is a unique activity, and because of this uniqueness, because of the complexity, because of the variety of stakeholders involved, because of the various functional areas involved in your project, and there are so many other factors, there are always chances that there will be some amount of difficulty, there will be some amount of troubles, they will be coming into picture, there will be some amount of risk that will be coming into picture. But if we have more emphasis, if we have a very thorough planning of your project, then it may not be completely trouble free, 100% trouble free, but at least we can minimize the chances of some of the troubles, some of the difficulties, and the risk of failure, that we can minimize, that we can uh, convert that project which is on the risky side to, or failure side, to a successful project. So for that purpose, it is very essential that more and more focus, more and more energy, it should be given to the planning phase of your project. It is useful to perceive the control process as a closed loop system with revised plans and schedules following the corrective actions. Now, any system, if you take, it is considered to be either of open loop system or closed loop system. There are two types of systems basically. In engineering, we define or we classify the systems as open loop system and closed loop system. So this is something related to electronics engineering control system part. So if you have open loop system, then what happens is we are giving certain input and we are producing certain output, but we are not having any control on that output. We are not checking what is the output you are getting. Your output may be as per requirement, your output may be deviating from the requirement. We are not taking any controlling action, we are not taking any remedial action to make it back to the track, to make the output as we want, as per our specifications. So that is a kind of open loop system. It is a one-way traffic. When we go for closed loop system, this closed loop system has got a feedback. So whatever output you are producing, that output will be always compared with the requirement, with the standard, with the expected output. and if there is any deviation, if there is any change, then the appropriate feedback will be given to the system, so that the system controller will try to control the environment, try to control certain parameters, and will try to bring the output back to the required level, back to the specified level. So similar to that, in our case also, in this project management also, if this project controlling stage is considered as a closed loop system, then what the controlling phase will do, or the controlling cycle in project will do, for each and every process, for each and every activity, it will try to understand what is the output and what was the desired output. Once it compares and it understands that there are some changes, then it can go for the revisions in the plans, revisions in the schedules, and it can suggest some corrective actions. So the planning, monitoring, and controlling cycle, this is continuously in process until the project is completed. So even though in our project life cycle we have seen that there are various process groups, and also we have observed that monitoring and control process group is across the entire project life cycle. I hope you must be remembering the diagram, the project life cycle, the level of interactions on y-axis, and the various process groups: initiating process group, then planning process group, executing process group, monitoring and controlling process group, and finally the closure process group. So that time also we discussed that some process groups, their span over the project life cycle is limited. They start at a particular point and after a certain duration they get finished. But the most uh, the planning, the process group which is spread for most of the duration of your project life cycle is monitoring and controlling cycle, because each and every stage, it may be in the planning phase, it may be in the initiation phase, it may be in the execution phase, or it may be in the controlling phase, monitoring and controlling is extremely essential. Every time we have to go for monitor the progress of that activity, check that progress, check that output with the required one. If it is matching, then the things are okay, we can allow the process to continue as it is. If there are any changes, if there are any variations, then we should go for modifying either the plans what we have, or the schedules what we have prepared, or the methodology with which the process is going on, and then try to get the output as per our requirement. So that's why this planning, monitoring, and controlling cycle is not a one-time exercise. It is continuously in process until the project is completed. So almost throughout the project life cycle, this planning, monitoring, controlling cycle is continuously working. The first step in setting up any monitoring system is to identify the key factors which are to be controlled. So if we want to set up the monitoring system, we have to identify which are the key factors in your project which should be monitored closely. Clearly, the project manager wants to monitor performance, cost, and time, but must define precisely which specific characteristics of performance, cost, and time should be controlled, and then establish exact boundaries within which control should be maintained. So it is very obvious that the project manager will be focusing on three parameters, like performance of your project, cost of your project, and time of your project. So for that purpose, he will be focusing on performance, cost, and time, but he should also define precisely for these performance, cost, and time, which are the specific characteristics they should be controlled. And not only the specific characteristics, but what are the boundaries, what is the upper limit and lower limit, what is the highest value and lowest value for that particular performance, that also should be mentioned, or that also should be specified, so that the people who are working with the monitoring, they will be able to monitor that particular parameter in that boundaries which have been specified. The best sources of items to be monitored are the project action plan and risk management plan. So once we know what is the project action plan and we know the risk management plan, we will be able to identify which should be the key factors that are to be controlled. The action plan describes what is being done, when, and the planned level of resource usage for each work package, and work element in the project. So once you refer to the action plan, you will come to know what are the various activities which are going on, when they will be executed, what is the planned level of resources required for that particular activity, what are the various work packages, and what are the work elements involved in that particular project. So these all things will be available once you have the action plan for the project with you. Monitoring the risk found in risk management plan keeps the project manager and project team alert to specific risk and thus lowers the probability of surprises. So now when we have discussed about the project risk management, we have understood and we have studied that there are various stages in project risk management, and one of the stage is identify the risk. And when we go for identify the risk, the output of this particular process was preparation of a risk register, and this risk register will be containing the list of the risks which are identified, their characteristics, and the probable response strategies they should be taken into account for those risks. So once we have this risk register available with us, then monitoring the risk, that will be very easy, because we will be able to understand what are the specific risks to be monitored, and as it will be anticipated that these risks are going to occur for your project, these risks are going to affect your project, then the project team may be in a proactive action to respond those risks, and the probability of surprises will be less. The monitoring system is a direct connection between planning and control. So whatever you plan and whatever you are going to control, the intermediate phase is monitoring, because unless and until there is monitoring, your planning will not be able to get control. So the process, if I want to have control, then monitoring is very, very essential. Then the next part is about engaging project stakeholders. So the stakeholder, as we have already understood, what is a stakeholder? So everyone which is having direct or indirect influence on your project objectives and the outcome of your project is directly or indirectly affecting the interest of that particular organization or person, he or she will be called as the stakeholder of your project. So stakeholder engagement is a very important area. This is a process of communicating and working with stakeholders to meet their needs and expectations, address issues as they occur, and foster appropriate stakeholder engagement in project activities throughout the project life cycle. So whenever we are considering about the project stakeholder engagement, we should consider that it is nothing but the process of communicating and working with the stakeholders. So communication management is also very essential knowledge area, because if you don't have proper communication with the project stakeholders, they won't feel that they are engaged with this particular project. So to keep them engaged, the communication is very, very essential. Like if we are conducting this lecture online, and if I stop communication, if I don't go on delivering the contents for certain duration, engaging you people for this particular session is very difficult, because you will wait for 5 minutes, you will wait for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Afterwards, slowly you will start leaving the meeting, because there is no communication between me and you. Similarly, the stakeholders who are there for your project, if they don't feel that they are taken into confidence, there is always communication, they are updated with the progress of the project, they are taken into the decision making for your project, then they will not feel engaged with your project. So slightly they will feel they are disengaged from your project, and disengagement of the stakeholders from your project is not at all advisable. Always your project stakeholders, they should be aligned with the project, they should be engaged with the project process, They should be engaged with the various activities which are running in your project. And the best method to get the stakeholders engaged in your project is through the communication. So whatever is the sort of communication that is suitable for a particular stakeholder. So for some stakeholder, verbal communication may be sufficient. For some stakeholders, the written communication is necessary. For some stakeholders, you can go for communication through the online media. For some stakeholders, you may have the communication through documentation. So there are varieties of communication, but whatever is the mode of communication suitable to that particular stakeholder or preferable by the particular stakeholder, that should be adopted by the project team or the project manager, and it should be make sure that the project stakeholder is engaged with your project for the entire project duration, or at least for the duration of project which is more concerned with that particular project stakeholder. So for what we need to have this engagement is, we should understand what are their needs and expectations. We should address any issues if they are coming between the project and the stakeholders. And also we should try to foster, we should try to drive the appropriate stakeholder engagement in the project activities throughout the project life cycle. So ideally the project stakeholders, they should be associated, they should be engaged with the project life cycle for the entire duration. The key benefit of this process is it allows the project manager to increase the support and minimize the resistance from stakeholders, significantly increasing the chances to achieve the project success. So this is one of the most important benefit, that if the stakeholders, they are engaged with the project for entire project life cycle, the work of project manager will be very easy, because always he will obtain the support from the project manager, and the resistance from the support from stakeholders, and the resistance will be very less, because the stakeholders will feel that they are part of that particular process. Then even though the process is not going as per the requirement, still they are involved in that particular process, so there will be very less resistance. If they are not taken into confidence, if they are not engaged with that particular process, and they observe that the things are not going well, then definitely there will be resistance to whatever you are suggesting, whatever you are planning, significantly increasing the chances to achieve the project success. And this all is for what? This everything is going on for having the project to be successful. So engagement of stakeholder for the entire life cycle of your project, if it is ensured, this will significantly increase the project chances to be successful. It is similar to like you are working for your um academic project. If you don't take your guide into confidence, if you don't take, because guide is a stakeholder, important stakeholder of your project is your guide, and if you don't engage him throughout the project life cycle, right from selection of the topic to the final submission of the project, then obviously there will be resistance, there will be critics, there will be non-support conditions. These all things are going to happen. So we should identify who is the key stakeholder, who are the stakeholders which are important from project point of view, and that's why we should go for their engagement for entire project life cycle. So there are various inputs, tools and techniques and outputs for engaging the project stakeholders for the life cycle of your project, that is ITTOs. So the inputs for this engaging project stakeholder involves stakeholder management plan, then communication management plan, change log, and organizational process assets. So these are some of the inputs which are required for engaging project stakeholder process. So we should have project stakeholder management plan ready. How we are going to communicate with them, that communication management plan should be ready. Then change log, whatever are the changes we are going to make in certain documents, in certain activities, the register for that, that change log, that we should have as input. Then organizational process assets. So as usual, the organizational process assets will be serving as input. Then the tools and techniques what we are going to apply for these inputs is communication methods, interpersonal skills, and managerial skills. So engaging project stakeholder is a very important management activity. So this involves your communication, your interpersonal skill and managerial skills. Means all the soft skills, they are coming into picture as the tools and techniques for this particular process. And the output is issue log, change requests, project management plan updates, project documents update, and organizational process assets updates. So various documents, they will get updated because of this engaging project stakeholder phase. The ability of stakeholders to influence the project is typically highest during the initial stages and gets progressively lower as the project progresses. So this is very essential. The stakeholders influence the project most of the time, or the influence is highest during the initial stages. I hope some of you have attended the one of the webinar which I suggested to you by PMI Pune related to nuts and bolts of project management. So after that webinar, there was a quiz, and I think this was one of the question in that quiz, that ability of stakeholder to influence the project is typically highest during dash dash stage, initial stage, final stage, intermediate stage, or something like this. So initial stages, the stakeholders will be influencing at the highest level to your project, and gradually, progressively, the influence will go on lowering as the project progresses. The project manager is responsible for engaging and managing the various stakeholders in project and may call upon the project sponsor to assist as needed. So the basic responsibility lies on project manager, because he is the responsible person to carry out that particular, execute that particular project. If required, he may call project sponsor, because the role of project sponsor may be sometimes useful, may be sometimes helpful for project manager to engage the stakeholders. Active management of stakeholder involvement decreases the risk of project failing to meet its goal and objective. So as we have discussed, if the project stakeholders, they are involved actively throughout the project life cycle, the failure of projects, the chances are very less. Stakeholder engagement involves activities like engaging stakeholders at appropriate project stages to obtain or confirm their continued commitment to the success of project. So that is one of the activity. So whenever it is required, not necessary every time, depending upon the requirement, the stakeholders can be engaged to obtain or confirm their continued commitment to the success of project. Then managing the stakeholder expectation through negotiation and communication, ensuring the project goals are achieved. So sometimes this is very crucial parameter. The project manager must deal with this particular parameter very systematically, very professionally. Sometimes it may happen that the project stakeholders are beyond certain level which can be achieved by the project objectives or through the project. So there must be some negotiation. So again, whenever you are going for negotiation, the communication will play an important role. You should go for negotiating on the terms, on the expectations of the stakeholder, and try to bring it to the level which you can satisfy through your project. And this negotiation is very much possible using the communication with the stakeholders, the continued communication with the stakeholders, ensuring the project goals are achieved. Addressing the potential concerns that have not yet become issues and anticipating future problems that may be raised by stakeholders. Such concerns need to be identified and discussed as soon as possible to assess associated project risk. So sometimes we feel that there are certain potential areas, potential issues which haven't become actually issues, but there are chances that they may come in future as some of the risks, some of the issues, some of the difficulties, and they are raised by the stakeholders. Stakeholders have suggested, they have given their feedback that these issues, they may come up in future in your project. So these type of concerns, these type of issues, these type of incidents, they need to be identified and discussed as soon as possible to assess the associated project risks. So if that thing is happening, then what will be the damage, what will be the effect on your project objectives, and if it is severely affecting the project objectives, then how to minimize it. So that discussion is very essential. Clarifying and resolving the issues that have been identified. So if there are any issues, then we should go for clarification on that. The project manager should give the clarification on that and resolve whatever issue that has come into picture. The next part is about the project team management. So we have already discussed about the project team, the team development model, the composition of project team, types of project team. These all things we have, the importance of teamwork. These all things we have already discussed. Now in this case, we have to discuss about how to go for management of your project team. So managing the project team is process of tracking team member performance, providing the feedback, resolving the issues, and managing team changes to optimize the project performance. So in this particular case, we are going for what? Whatever team you have, we have to observe the performance. We have to provide the feedback to the team members, even if they are excelling, even if they are performing below the expected level, or if they are performing as per the expectations. Whatever is the performance evaluation we have, that concerned feedback should be given. If it is beyond the expectation, we should appreciate. If the performance is below the expectation, we should try to encourage to level up that particular performance. If there are certain issues, we should go for resolving them within the team and managing the team changes to optimize the team project performance. The key benefit of this process is it influences the team behavior, manages the conflicts, resolves the issues, and appraises team member performance. The inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs are: inputs will be human resource management plan, project staff assignments, team performance assessment, issue log, work performance reports, and organizational process assets. So for project team management, the various inputs, these will be HR management plan, whatever is the project staff assignment, that register, that record, team performance assessment. So when you monitor the performance, that performance assessment record, it should be there, issue log, then work performance reports, and organizational process assets. Then coming to the tools and techniques, observation and conversation. So for monitoring the team performance, there must be observation. To convey the feedback, there must be conversation between the project manager and the team members. Project performance appraisal. So we should have certain formats for performance appraisal. Conflict management, one of the very important technique for resolving the conflicts, and interpersonal skills to manage your project team. The outputs of this particular project team management process will be change request, project management plan updation, project documentation updation, enterprise environmental factors to be updated, and organizational process assets to be updated. So as a result of managing the project team, change requests are submitted, human resource management plan is updated, issues are resolved, input is provided to performance appraisal, lessons learned are added to the organization's database. So this managing project team requires variety of management skills for fostering the teamwork, integrating the efforts of team members to create high performance skills and high performance teams. Team management involves combination of skills with special emphasis on communication, conflict management, negotiation, leadership, etc. The project manager should provide challenging assignments to team members and provide recognition for high performance. So I think those who are having specialization as HR, so this is all about the role of your HR manager or any HR manager in any organization. So there must be emphasis on communication. The conflict management is very essential. Negotiation skills and leadership abilities, they are important. Then the team members should be provided with certain challenging assignments so that they can use their skills, they can use their talents and try to bring certain results. And then recognition to the high performance. So if some people, they are working hard, if they are providing very good support and they are performing extremely well, then there must be recognition for their high performance. So only last 2-3 slides. It is about project meetings. The project meetings, why they are conducted? They are conducted for information exchange. They are conducted for brainstorming, option evaluations or design, and the meetings are conducted for decision making. So as you know, meetings is a part and parcel of any management practice. So the management philosophies, they are involving meeting as one of the very important tool or very important technique for any kind of management. It may be HR management, it may be risk management, it may be uh, resource management, whatever is, whenever you want to manage something, if it is feasible and you can take the meetings, then it is always better to have the exchange of ideas, exchange of information. We can have the brainstorming to get different ideas, different options available, and we can come to certain conclusion as the decision. But now, what is essential for meeting is the meeting should not be taken simply just for the purpose that meeting is taken. The meeting should be well planned. It should be well defined agenda. It should have the purpose of meeting should be clear. The objective should be clear. The time frame, it should be communicated in advance. It should be checked whether the stakeholders who are involved with the meeting, they have available time for that particular time frame. And then once the meeting is conducted, afterwards also the discussions which have been held in the meeting, they should be minutized and they should be documented. And along with the minutes of your meeting, the action plan also, it should be generated, that what are the corrective actions, what are the actions they have been planned after the discussion in that particular meeting for certain areas. Nowadays, instead of physical face-to-face meeting, virtual meetings are more common, especially in this pandemic situation. The virtual meetings, they are rigorously, they are very commonly taken across the businesses. Earlier days, virtual meetings were only present for people who are in industries, who are working on global platform, mostly in the software companies. But nowadays, the virtual meetings are part and parcel of uh, most of the businesses because of this pandemic situation. So normally senior managers insist on a face-to-face meeting for staying informed about the project progress. These meetings may touch on almost any subject relevant to the project. Project review meetings can either highly structured or deceptively casual, but they are always important. So whenever you are conducting meetings, sometimes you can go for casual meeting just to get the feedbacks, opinions of the people who are working on the project. But most of the time, the project review meeting, they should be well structured meeting. Sometimes the project meetings, they may involve the client also, the senior management also, and they may concern to day-to-day problems met on all the projects. There is no particular reasons that these meetings need to be conducted in a manner that is so feared by attendees. So that is very important. The meeting should be conducted in a well disciplined manner. The people should feel that they can express their ideas, they can express their opinions in that particular meeting. So communication and meeting, so you can just go through this slide. Because a meeting, whenever you are discussing, it may be face to face meeting or it may be a virtual meeting, communication will be playing a very important role in your meeting.